Welcome to Life in the Bricks podcast, where we talk to real people about programs that enhance our community so that we can build bigger and better portfolios while providing options for our residents to achieve self-sufficiency. I'm your host, Tony McGinnis, Executive Director, CEO with the Huntsville Housing Authority. Well, welcome to Life in the Bricks podcast, where we talk to real individuals about real information that impacts our community in a very positive way. My name is Tony McGinnis, Executive Director of the Huntsville Housing Authority, and I'm excited to talk to Ms. Rand today from Faith Covenant Academy. We're going to get some really good information about an academy that's been serving the Huntsville-Madison County area for a very long time, doing some great things, and I'm excited to just talk to her and really dive deep into the academy and why it got started and the impact that it's having on the Huntsville-Madison County community. So Ms. Rand, I'm going to turn it over to you so that you can introduce yourself to everybody and talk about the mission of Faith Covenant Academy.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. When I got the email, I said, wow. I'm in high cotton now. Anyway, I am Harriet Rand. I am the administrator of Faith Covenant Academy. We are now 37 years old, and I have been with the school since 2013. The founders decided they wanted to retire. They started the school because they didn't want their daughters to go to public school. And they were pastors, and so they started the school, and it just kind of went on and on. And basically what we do, traditionally homeschool is mom stays home, mom teaches the babies. Well, sometimes that's not everybody's story. So we've kind of taken homeschool and put a little twist on it. And I've actually almost turned it into a school system because I have different options for the different students. But what we've been able to do is serve a demographic in the area and in some other states where they just, for whatever reason, public school just does not work. And so we treat each person individually, and we find what it's going to take for them to be successful in their educational endeavors.
You know, when you talk about the founders of the organization, just kind of doing a little research on them and how they got started, it's one thing to create a platform for your child, but to keep that legacy going now for 37 years, the impact that it's had not only on children throughout the county, but I'm thinking about some of the children that are in the inner city that have had to benefit from the services that you all have. And knowing that the legacy is close to 40 years, it's to be commended. But I really would like for you to talk about some of the criteria for the students who coming to the academy and what it takes for those students to have success at the school.
The majority of my students are high school age. I have turned it up a notch, and I even accept adults. All I need is for you to have a willing mind, a willing heart to just get it done. I am here to be your guide. I'm here to kind of guide you through the requirements that you need to be successful in school and then go on to eventually get your high school diploma. Um, I get a lot of referrals from the school system, from actually the housing authority. We're partners. But basically, I just need the person to just be willing to, do the work. Unfortunately, I am not equipped to, of course, deal with students that have like learning disabilities, severe learning disabilities, or anything like that. But I take each student as they are individually. I don't lump them and put them in a box like some institutions do. And I tell them, if you do exactly what I asked you to do, I will get you across the stage and get you that diploma so you can move on to your next.
So how important is a space like Faith Covenant to our community? Because, oftentimes people can have a negative, uh, I guess, when you hear private school, you got public schools here, and people thinking, okay, why are we putting our kids? But can you share with the listeners why it's important to have these alternatives and give our children as many opportunities as they can so that they can have what they need to be able to graduate on time?
Unfortunately, in an area like Huntsville, even though we are the largest city in Alabama, we don't have a lot of educational options. You either go to private school, you go to public school, or you get a GED. And I think it's very important to have options because um, I have an analogy. A lot of public schools like to put kids or people in a box, and they want you to learn the same, eat the same, look the same. And that's not everybody's testimony. So here, you're the box. I'm just the manager of your box. But it's very important for any community to have a safety net. We make sure that people are fed. We make sure that they are housed, with DHR and everything. But you have to make sure that there's that safety net for education too, because your education is the key to whatever you're going to be or do as an adult.
And so, just kind of getting even more specific when it comes to
Mhm.
children from the inner city who faith may be their last option, and especially the partnership that we have and the children that we have to send. Um, have you seen that some of the children that have been written off come to faith and thrive and are able to go on and do bigger and better things after some people have written them off?
Oh, absolutely. I have had countless number of students come to me and say, you know what, over such and such school, they told me I wasn't going to never be nothing. That bothers me. And it's like, no, let me find you where you are. Let me meet you where you are and get you where you need to be. I have students that they don't have the parental or the village support. I tell people I'm auntie down the street. They need that person in their life that's going to push them, that's going to let them know there is hope and that they have the ability to be what they want to be. Um, and I just think it's important that people have somebody behind their backs to push them. Sometimes that's all a student needs is just a push. Even the adults that I have, they've been through some things and it's like, no, we're going to get this done. So let's partner together. I'm going to push you, but you getting across that stage. And the joy that I have when someone gives me a hug, they're crying, they're like, "Oh my God, I did it. I'm getting ready to go to school." You have no idea. That's more precious to me than a pocket full of money.
Yeah, we need that support. We're in the housing space, but we also know that in order for our young people to be able to get up and out, to be self-sufficient, housing is just a small portion of
Right.
what they're going to need education to be able to get some of the jobs that are coming to Huntsville to be able
Hmm.
to that livable wage. And I think what you all do is bridge that gap. I once heard somebody say that 80% of children who don't graduate end up in the system. And having an opportunity to at least get a high school diploma, a GED, is very crucial. And so I think it's very important for us to continue to create, I guess, what we call legacy so that the children in our neighborhoods and our backgrounds can, start the cycle of getting out of that generational poverty. And I believe it starts with a solid foundation in education. So um, my next question is, so what made you get involved in something like this, and why have you stuck with it for the amount of years that you've stuck with it?
When I met the founders, um, we talked, and I kind of knew a little bit about homeschooling, but the more we talked, And the more they made me believe, look, you can be groomed to do this. You can take this and run with it. Even for me, when you have somebody that believes in you and shows you what you need to do, it works. And believe it or not, me doing this, I found my purpose in my 40s. I found my purpose like, oh, okay, this is why I'm around now. I was a corporate trainer for a long time, so I'm used to educating mainly adults. But, my belief is the things that you've done in the past get you ready for what you're getting ready to do. So all those moments that I made curriculum that I taught in the classroom, that got me ready for dealing with um, who I deal with now. I'm prior military. So when you're in the military, you're given a mission. It's like, here, this is the mission. This is what needs to be done. Figure out how to do it. So that's what I've, had to do. And the population and the demographic of people or the students that the founders dealt with, okay, fast forward almost 30, 40 years, has changed. The school systems have changed. And so we've had to kind of, morph ourselves into an entity that can change with the times and be a solution as to what's going on now. And here I'm not from Alabama, but I know that they had the graduation exam here for a very, very long time. And there are people walking around with all the credits they needed to graduate, but they didn't pass an exam. And it's like, no, 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 we need to fix that. And so I have some of those students that come and there's things that we have to do, but we get them graduated. And you mentioned something about generational. One of my goals is to break those generational curses. I've had families graduate together because it's like, no, we need to be an educated people. There is no reason why, outside of a few circumstances, that anybody is walking around with no high school diploma. No reason why.
What additional value do you believe having a diploma adds to, I guess, somebody's net worth, um, their value as a person, um, their ability to take it to the next level? What do you feel like this adds to a person, even if they don't get what we call the traditional diploma from their high school?
Hmm. Um, I think when someone sees I actually have a high school diploma and ours is equivalent to any school in Alabama, it shows that they put forth the effort, that they just didn't sit down and take an exam, that they studied for, they went to a little class for, that they actually had to go and put in that work. And a lot of times when you put in work and you have sweat in the game, it means a whole lot more than just having sat down and taken a test.
Your children who go through Faith Covenant, they can actually apply to college.
Hmm.
They're able to do everything that um, other children are able to do.
Hmm.
And again, I know of several children who've gone through the program and are very successful now. And so I guess I want to talk about, you know, what does the cost structure look like, or a typical program for somebody that's going from A to Z
Hmm.
to finish up at Faith Covenant Academy?
Okay. First, you mentioned being able to go on to the next level. We actually have dual enrollment opportunities with about 6 or 8 different colleges. So I have some that do college or tech school and high school at the same time. So they're leaving here, and I have some that go full ride, A&M, Alabama, you name it, they're in school. Athletic scholarships. So we have 3 different options for students. One option is the parent is at home. They're doing all the educating. We're just kind of their cover, like an umbrella to guide them, keep them legal. And they pay a set fee per 4 school years, $125. I have 3 micro schools actually where the kids go to school every day. I have one here in the Huntsville area, one in Marshall County and one in Blount County. And those are individual. You have to be accepted to those sites, and they have their individual requirements. But the vast majority of the students that you're familiar with, we call them independent study. And they pay a registration fee of $50. And then there's a monthly fee, and that fee varies based on the situation. I have a partnership with the housing authority through the Mill Creek and the urban strategies, and so I made some pledges to that initiative based on Faith Covenant on what my partnership and my contribution would be. And actually, I have started my portion of my leverage letter early, so it's in effect now. When I have students that are through the DHR system, the foster care students, they have a different structure. But the average student is $50 a month. And then if there are multiple students in the family, of course, there are discounts. Compared to some of the other programs, we're very reasonable, I think. Some people are like, oh my God, no. There's some programs that cost hundreds per month. And we work with people as best we can. I lend out books if people can't afford to buy the books. I do the best I can. But this is more ministry than it is, and mission to help people thrive, than it is a money maker. I'm not in this to make millions. I'm not.
So you talked about the fee, which is
Hmm.
very affordable and attainable
Hmm.
for those who need this option.
Hmm.
And so that eliminates the excuses that may be out there.
That's it.
It eliminates it. And when you have a community as rich in resources as Huntsville, then there shouldn't be a child who is struggling to go and get the education that they need,
Right.
whether we find partnerships or whatever that looks like.
Hmm.
As a community, we should be able to get those students the resources they need so that they can go to that next level. So I definitely applaud you all in keeping it affordable. You know, again, with so many hurdles and barriers out there, education shouldn't be unaffordable, so
Right.
that kids can actually go out and do something great with their
Hmm.
lives. But the next thing is having that component of spirituality is so critical when we're talking about the children, especially inner city children,
Hmm.
who oftentimes get um, looked over when it comes to even church fellowship, you know.
Hmm.
And I say that not trying to be mean or hateful, but our kids get the raw end of the stick even when it comes to fellowship.
Yes. Yes.
And I think you all having that included in the curriculum gives them an opportunity to develop that relationship they need.
Yes. That is something that I have continued. Like I said, the founders were pastors, and I've had some students tell me that the first time they've ever had to pick up a Bible, read about Jesus, was at this school. The interesting thing, though, Tony, is I've had two Muslim families that went to school here. They brought all the kids here. And when I met their father, I said, listen, now, this is a Christian school. We use the Bible. He said, ma'am, look, I just want my kids educated. I don't get into all that. All the kids graduated with honors. And to see, I don't think you've ever been to one of our graduations. I'll have to invite you. But we have graduation with just a twist of church. But to see that atmosphere, but to see two rows of women with their hijabs on in that atmosphere, and we're coexisting, it's a beautiful sight. It is a
So,
beautiful sight.
and then again, I just applaud that because I feel like that's so important as children and young adults transition into life.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't, they don't think that's important, but I'm a believer. And so I believe that when we can have children who traditionally don't get a chance to go to church. They don't get a chance to fellowship, and it can be incorporated into what they do in their education. That's powerful.
Mhm.
But I want to talk about the covering, the church covering that you all
Mhm.
have.
Mhm.
Is there a congregation or a fellowship that covers you all as a school?
Yes. Yes.
And talk
My
about that.
my covering is Redemptive Life Church. My pastor is Pastor Leon and Mina Willis, and I'm actually staff clergy at that church. And when I met them, I told them, this is what I do, and they were like, no problem, plenty of church support, whatever I need, they have my back, and I appreciate that. Um, it makes a difference when you have somebody behind you that is pushing you, that is supporting you, and not trying to leech from you. They're like, look, just do your thing. There are some that are connected to churches, and the churches are using them as a money making um, entity, and they don't do that to me, and I really really appreciate it. But shameless plug, we have church every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and we are at 1111 Wayne Road, suite number 1. And Wayne Road is that small road that runs next to the Walmart on University. So shameless plug, we would love to have you, but that is who my spiritual covering is.
So as we kind of start to wrap it up, I do
Mhm.
want to talk about athletics,
Okay.
because even though you all don't have a sports program, it's such a benefit that children who attend the school could actually participate in
Mhm.
sports in the zones that they live
Mhm.
in. And I think that's important because, again, we have athletes, we have people who want to continue in sport, and this gives them an opportunity, if they're good enough, to continue to play in the zones that they live in. Let's talk a little bit
Mhm.
about that.
A few years ago, the Alabama High School Athletic Association, they passed in their bylaws that students that are homeschooled, if they're eligible academically, can play for the school in their zone. They have to be zoned for that school. But and there's a couple things that have to be done. You have to register a specific way with your school system. They code you as a non-traditional student for athletics. A couple of things that I would have to fill out, of course, transcripts and that type of thing. But as long as you connect with the AD and the coach of that particular school, and you make the team, by all means, and you can get scholarships just like any other student. The NCAA, the NAIA, they all recognize our school. So they're eligible on the collegiate level to be able to go and play as well. But a lot of people, oh, I don't want to leave school, I won't be able to play sports. Yes, you can. Um, you can still do it. And there is a home school football team here in the city. And then a lot of the students that leave me, if they don't make it at the collegiate level, there's actually a prep school here. And so I have referred students there. I have talked to a couple principals over the years, and sometimes an athlete, great athlete, academics are a little, and so we've partnered together, and they would go to school here and still pay athletics at their school and be able to boost their grades and get the eye of a coach in the possibility of getting a scholarship. Um,
And that's a game changer. That's a true game changer because, once again, we are eliminating any excuse that a young person may have,
yes.
but also providing options for those children who really need them. And, with affordability and housing prices being all over the place and not having enough affordable housing,
Hmm.
having these type of options is valuable not only for residents that we serve, but folks from all over the county. And that's why it's so important to have,
Mm-hmm.
we always talk about public-private partnerships, and most of
Mm-hmm.
the time we think housing. But what you all are doing is creating public-private partnerships that are outside of housing,
Right.
which is what we need in our community. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
about housing, it's about creating the whole person.
Right.
And with that whole person, putting them in a position where they can win. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I just love it because, again, everybody's not a traditional student. Everybody's not going to do well at the traditional schools. So there has to be options out here for our young people to take advantage of so that they can grow
Mm-hmm.
and be all they need to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There are a
Is
lot of people that don't think that there's any other way to educate someone except for public school. And we have to change our mindset and turn into a by any means necessary type of society.
exactly, exactly. So, man, this has been rich. And I tell you, we're almost out of time. But this is the thing I would ask, what could the community do more? How could we, as a group of folks who live here in Huntsville, do more to help Faith Covenant? What could we do?
I think a couple of things. One, just rally around the people that need to be educated in this community, regardless of what their age is. Rally around them and become a collective corporate village here in Huntsville. And, make it your business as a citizen to make sure that your neighbor gets what they need, regardless of how they get it. And don't stigmatize how someone gets educated. And if a neighbor comes to you and says, "Hey, I'm in school. Do you think you have a couple of extra bucks to help me pay for some books?" That might be the difference between that person graduating on time or not.
So, is there anything that, philosophy that you share with your students, or we're going to share this on all of our social media platforms? If
Mhm.
you had elevator pitch for Faith Covenant Academy, what would that be?
Mhm. I think the elevator pitch, I'll just say this. The difference between us and other educational entities is A, we take a personal interest in you and you alone as a person. Um, I tell people that I'm a little bit more hands-on than maybe public school is, and I tell them I have two missions in your life. Mission number one is to get you across that stage by any means necessary, and if I have to turn on my alter ego and kind of push you, the second is it's my job to get you ready for what's next. I just don't give out pieces of paper. So if people will allow us, we're there for them 100%.
I love it. I thank you for what you do in our community. I'm honored that we're partnering together to provide options, even outside of housing, but options so that young people and young adults and just anyone needing it have those options to be all that they could be. So thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for the work that you all do. And we look forward to continuing the partnership for as long as we can. And community, anything that you can do to help support Faith Covenant Academy, please do so, because we need options like this so that our young people can grow and become the individuals that we need them to be. Um, Once again, this we've reached the end of our show. Share this on all your social media platforms. We got to get more information out here about Faith Covenant Academy and the partnerships that the Housing Authority is really creating and enhancing. So we thank you again
Thank you.
for all that you do and the support that you give all children, all adults, those who need it in this community. Thank you again.
I appreciate that. And I'm going to personally invite you to our graduation because you have some residents that will be graduating May 15th. So I will bring you your ticket. But thank you
Okay.
so much for having me.
All right, thank you. We appreciate it. We've come to the end of the podcast today. Please share the link on all your social media platforms. We hope that you all will join us again next time. Until then, keep serving and keep pushing. This has been another amazing episode of Life in the Bricks podcast. Peace.